All right, first things first, if you haven't already, you're going to need to download the JAMF Teacher app. It looks like this. It's got a little red teacher in front of a little red whiteboard. That is what you're looking for. If you cannot find it, if you haven't already downloaded it, you're looking instead for self-service. So you go into self-service, over here to the left to search, type in JAMF Teacher, JAMF. And there you go. You see it comes right up. Mine says reinstall, obviously, because I've got it installed. You'll hit install. You'll see it pop up on your desktop. So once you've got it installed, when you go in, one thing to understand is that JAMF Teacher runs on Apple Classroom. So if there is a problem with the way your Apple Classroom is set up, or classes are set up, that's something that needs to be fixed first before that is going to work here for JAMF. So that also includes things like if you have multiple rosters, if you have on-level IS, CT, CTM, and you've got 4 different Skyward rosters for first period, you need to go, before this is going to work in the most convenient form, you need to go into Apple School Manager and make sure that your Apple classes are correct. Otherwise, just like within Skyward, where you have to go into 4 different rosters in order to take attendance and stuff like that, same thing here. So you can combine those classes. If yours are not combined and you don't know how to deal with your Apple classes, happy to help you with that. But that's what you see here are Apple Classroom classes that I've created because I don't have any Skyward classes. So for you guys, you should see your Skyward rosters here. You'll notice that long names get cut off. Mine are all distinguished because they all have different names, but yours might say your last name, English 1, all the way down with no period numbers. They're in number order. So this would be first, this would be second, this would be third, fourth, fifth, so on. So generally speaking, while we're figuring out with Apple how to give us better naming conventions, you have that option there. So you choose a class, and once you choose a class, I only have one student. It's the North Campus demo. I have one tiny iPad where I can show this as if I have a student. So for my one student NC demo, right here I've got a 1 kid roster. You guys are going to have your whole class roster. The main thing to remember is that everybody on your roster, when you see that roster, is under your control. So if a kid comes to you from another teacher and they have locked them down, you do not have to quiz the kid. Okay, what teacher did you come from? Go back, talk to them, have them unlock you so that you can come back and participate in my class. If they are on your roster, at any point, you can clear restrictions. That means you turn off whatever another teacher has done, and now you can put on whatever restrictions you want. Now, I keep saying restrictions, and so that sounds like this right here. The thing is, with the restrictions button, most of the stuff under there, you'll see we already have restricted. So, for instance, social media, if I flip this switch, I've turned off all of the social media apps for the kids on that roster. The thing is, they can't download any social media apps. They don't have any social media because we've already blocked all of that. So turning this switch on and off does nothing to them. They can't download games. That does nothing. The entertainment, they can only get what we allow them to get, which is pretty much nothing. Shopping, nothing. Music, nothing. Communication, barely anything. However, this right here is where the restrictions are going to help you. In particular, the camera, and right here, this blue one that says making screenshots and screen recordings. If you have had kids cheating by recording their answers on a test right before they submit, if you've had kids cheating because they are making screenshots that they then email to one another, by flipping this switch and hitting apply up here, They can no longer do that. The buttons for and the icons that allow them to make those changes, they cannot. If I turn off the camera, those last 15 minutes of class makeup sessions, or the thing that I've heard a lot from teachers this year, students saying, well, I'm vlogging. We are here, it is an academic setting, they don't need to vlog. So if you want to remove that choice, turn off the camera, turn off screenshots and recordings, and then not only can they not turn the camera on, there is no longer a camera icon. So once I hit apply, my student, NC demo, you'll see I hit that, and because my NC demo is turned off at the moment, that's why it says it's waiting for the device to connect. If I picked it up and woke it up, you would see that spinny wheel would connect to it, turn it green, and turn off the camera for my kid. So I'm done. Every student on my roster, this one lonely soul, right now has no camera. That's the only restriction I have on there. So this button right here, you will use basically as a camera on and off button. From there, it's really these two, the allowed apps and the allowed websites, that are going to be your friends. We have been traditionally thinking, here's what I want to get them out of. I don't care what they're doing, but get them out of YouTube. Or I don't care what they're doing, but I don't want them playing games. I don't care what they're doing, but I don't want them to have blank. You need to reverse that thinking, because the way that JAMF Teacher works for allowed apps and allowed websites is it turns off everything. It clears the iPad. The iPad then looks like it has 0 apps. So kids can't go into their settings. They can't turn off their Bluetooth. They can't choose to get out of this. So with allowed apps, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's going to populate with all of the apps that I can turn off. Or excuse me, all of the apps that I can turn on. So any of these from this list, and you can see it is a considerable list. All of these on this list, I can go through and say I only want those. So the most common, most of the time, kids are working in Notability, and Canvas Student. That's the Canvas app and the Notability app. As soon as I hit apply right here, every student on this roster, my all students, because you see it's blue, so that's what I have selected right now. Every student on my roster, if I go to their iPad, all they see is an icon for Canvas and an icon for Notability. Everything else is gone. Now, if I send them with everything else gone from my first period to second period, and second period is working in Desmos, that math teacher or science teacher can go straight to clear restrictions to their own roster and clear everybody in the room in front of them. So allowed apps only turns on the apps you want. As you are setting that, you'll notice that there's a timer here where it automatically unlocks everybody. The default is 50 minutes, but you can change that time to as much or as little as you like. The thing about 50 minutes is if you start it right when the bell rings, that will most likely turn them off before they hit the next period. However, choose the time that you want, and at any time, if you realize that the timer's still going and you need to clear it, clear restrictions, clear restrictions. Now everybody, as soon as I hit done, fully unlocked. Allowed websites works the same way, except for one or two things. First, you need the website that you are going to use. So maybe I just want them using Canva. There are other ways to access Canva. I'm just showing you an example. Right here, it says lock in Safari, and I've got it turned on. So it's green because that option is turned on. That means after I hit apply up here, the only thing a student will be able to do is go through Safari to this website. Now, I can add as many websites as I want. So maybe I want them to go to Canva, Oh, I have to enter. Maybe I want them to go to Canva and Nearpod and Google. When I hit apply up here, Safari will be the only app available to them. And when they go into Safari, these will be the only websites that they can reach. So when I hit apply for 50 minutes, because I haven't changed my timer, they will only be able to reach these websites, and I have them locked in Safari. So I don't have to also go to allowed apps and say, yes, Safari. So if, however, I want them to be able to go to Safari and go to other apps as well. So maybe I need them to be in Safari and Notability. I don't want them locked in Safari because they also need Notability. So if I apply this, it'll send out to everybody, and then I have to, if I still want Notability, I have to go in and allow Notability. So now my one little student right here can only go to 3 websites on Safari and Notability because I've used both of these buttons. Let's say I've been playing around and I don't know what the heck is going on. I forgot what I locked them into. I can clear restrictions, done. Everybody's open up and I can start from scratch if I want to. And so far I've been doing this for a full roster at a time. But I can also do this for one student at a time. So let's say I'm giving a test and I have everybody locked into just the Aware website. Let's say that that's where they are. They have that one thing, they're locked into Safari and just the Aware website. And let's say my NC demo kid is the first one done and I want them to be able to work on their research paper. I can go straight to my NC demo kid, choose that kid, and clear the restrictions just on that kid. So you have the option. You can also put restrictions on for just one kid. So you have the freedom to adjust as you need to. Start lesson is connected to lesson templates. That's going to be a separate video. This is just the basics. Ignore clear passcode because that's something that I have as a CTIS. You guys have the other buttons here. But just to remember that you have the option of all kids, one kid, groups of kids, and always, once you go into a roster, you have control over all of these kids. So at that point, you can clear restrictions for any kid that it seems to be acting funny. Everybody seems to panic a little bit when they see icons disappear. If you're looking at a kid iPad and it seems like everything is gone, remember that we have a tool that does that for us, that you have the off switch for. Remember that every kid in your rosters you can control. That means they do not have to be sitting in front of you. This is web-based and it has nothing to do with their Bluetooth, which means if you have a kid at home, they're homesick, when you lock down your entire class, that kid that's homesick, their iPad locks too, and they're not here in front of you to hear you say, okay, I'm about to lock you into blah, blah. So remember that if you're playing with buttons and it's first period, but you're playing with 7th period, wherever those kids are in the building, their iPads are flipping out because you are changing what is happening to them. So be mindful that if you are pressing buttons for a roster, make sure you've got those kids where it's not affecting other teachers. Make sure, generally speaking, that when you're in JAMF, you are working with the kids sitting in front of you in your room. That's just gonna mean that we have the least impact on one another as we're all in and out of this tool and learning it. The Start Lesson button is connected to lesson templates. So for now, just ignore that. The main things you need to be aware of: clear restrictions, that puts your kids' iPads back where they belong. Restrictions, that's your camera on and off button. Allowed apps, allows just the apps you want and gets rid of everything else. And allowed websites, same thing, just the websites you want and gets rid of everything else. So one more time, this is based on your Apple Classroom classes. So if you see that there's an issue there, let me know and we can get those straightened out. In the meantime, good luck. If you want me to walk you through it personally, give me a heads up. I'll come by and we'll do this while you've got kids in the room so that you can see exactly what the effects are. Oh, glad I did that. When you click leave class, forgot about that. When you click leave class, automatically you will have this box pop up. The top choice, leave without clearing restrictions. That means that you can go and look at your second period, even though you're sitting in first, without affecting the restrictions on the kids sitting in front of you. So maybe you set it up, but you've got other work to do in other rosters. Great, you leave without clearing restrictions. Say a kid needs 5 more minutes to finish a test after the bell rings. Leave without clearing restrictions, they stay locked. Or you can clear restrictions and leave. That unlocks everybody and gets you out of the class. For me, in my own classroom, because I'm terrified of messing up other people's classes, I would use this option every single time. I would, at the end of every class, clear restrictions and leave, just because I don't want my chaos leaching out into my colleagues' rooms. It is a personal choice. It's up to you. Because remember, if that kid needs to be unlocked, the teacher they're going to can unlock them. So I'm going to clear restrictions and leave because I hit a bunch of buttons and I don't know what's going on as far as what I ended up locking people into. The other thing that you should be aware of is looking forward to being able to use lesson templates and whatnot. I've created a class for all of the departments in the building. So for instance, if I look at fine arts, you'll notice, you won't notice because you can't see it, but every fine arts teacher is in that class as an instructor, but there are no students in that class. So if you see a North Campus something class, it's one that I created and put you into for next steps down the road. You don't have to worry about that today. All right, good luck.